He has his meetings on there also. Okay, so let's start. First, let's see here. Let's start the meeting of the Yucca Valley Town Council. So let's call it to order on May 20th, 2025 at about 5:03 p.m., something like that. So let's do the roll call.
Mayor, if it's okay, I'd just like to give a report out of closed session first before roll call.
Yes, sorry about that.
Town council met in closed session. There's no reportable action. That concludes the report.
That's why I skipped it. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so roll call. We have council members Abel, who has an excused absence this evening. Council member Dennison,
Dennison here.
Lombardo,
Lombardo here.
Schooler,
Here.
and Mayor Droz.
Here. So let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to ask Brooke Dudra, she's the Deputy Town Clerk for Yucca Valley, to start us off. So let's begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Brooke. Now we have our invocation led by Pastor Louis Labato from the Door Christian Fellowship Church.
Thank you for the invitation to be here with you. I've been pastoring the church for the last 12 years, so thank you for all that you do. Just going to speak the invocation now. Father, we come before you tonight. God, we ask your grace upon this assembly. God, upon our town council, our mayor. God, we ask, God, your blessing. God, in the years to come, I pray, God, for our sheriff's department, God, your protection over them, our fire department, God, your grace in hand, God, for all the residents of our community. God, we ask your blessing, your covering over this town and over this meeting. We thank you. We ask your grace in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Now we have presentations, introductions, and recognitions. So fiscal year 2025 through 26, state legislative and budget brief, capital advocacy.
Thank you, Mayor. As we have joining us our partners from Capital Advocacy, Chad and Sam. Let's turn that down just a little bit of feedback. Thank you. And so with that, we're going to turn it over to Chad to run away with the presentation with your team. Chad, welcome tonight.
Great. Thank you so much for having us. Want to just thank you for the opportunity to give a legislative update. So I will start with the happenings at the state level, and then I'll turn it over to Sam for the federal update, and then we'll take questions after we conclude, if that's okay, Mr. Mayor. Tonight I'll walk through the governor's May revision, which just came out last week for the 25-26 state budget. I'll give you a quick overview of how the budget process works, explain why a new deficit has emerged, and close with a few bills worth keeping an eye on, and then what all this could mean for the town. I'll start with California's budget process and how it works. So some of you I know are familiar with this, but some of you might not be. So let's do a quick refresher. Each January, the governor releases a proposed budget for the coming fiscal year, which begins July 1. It's based on economic forecasts and outlines proposed spending across state programs. And then in May, after the state receives income tax revenue, and the governor then releases a May revision, a major update that reflects what the state actually brought in, as well as any changes in program costs or policy priorities. And then by June 15th, the legislature must pass a balanced budget. The governor signs it by the end of the month. This process is especially important in California because of our reliance on volatile personal income tax revenues, especially capital gains. When the stock market is strong, revenues are high. But when the market slows, like now, that revenue drops sharply and quickly. So what changed between January and May? Back in January, the governor's budget projected a fairly stable fiscal outlook. There was already a multi-year plan in place to manage early shortfalls. But by May, both the governor's team and the legislative analyst office, the bipartisan legislative analyst office, agreed a new $12 to $14 billion budget problem had emerged. Well, why? Well, spending increased significantly, especially in Medi-Cal, which now costs over $10 billion more than projected. That's due to increased use of services, higher medical prices, and more people qualifying, particularly undocumented adults. Revenue projections dropped, especially from the corporate tax and personal income tax, due to revised expectations for economic growth and the stock market. So even with past belt tightening, the state had to adjust again. So what's in the May revision? The governor proposes to close the deficit mostly through spending side solutions, not through tax increases and without pulling more from reserves. So here's how. Through spending reductions, there's about $4.9 billion in spending reductions. Those are cuts to Medi-Cal services for undocumented adults, including limits on dental, long-term care, and in-home supportive services. Also, there's some pullbacks on certain education climate program expansions. He does it also through fund shifts. There's $3.2 billion in fund shifts. So the May revise moves funding from CAL FIRE operations from the general fund to the greenhouse gas reduction fund. So it's about $1.5 billion that would go, that the GGRF fund would in essence backfill the general fund for CAL FIRE operations. It also taps special funds and bonds to cover Medi-Cal and climate program costs. Also through delays, there's $1.3 billion in delays through school and community college payments into the next fiscal year. Also cost shifts, there's $4.1 billion in cost shifts. There's some accounting maneuvers like spreading Medi-Cal payments over several years instead of recognizing them now. In regards to reserves, there aren't any new withdrawals beyond the $7.1 billion that had already been planned from the rainy day fund. And so it's important to note that total reserves at the end of 25-26 are projected to be around $16 billion, including $11 billion in the rainy day fund and $4.5 billion in the special fund for economic uncertainties. And the Legislative Analyst Office has largely supported this approach, calling it prudent, in fact, and urging lawmakers not to commit to new spending until revenues stabilize. So what does all this mean for Yucca Valley? What's it mean for us locally? There's no direct cuts to town revenues, at least for now, but with deficits projected through 2029, future budgets may bring new pressures on cities and counties. For those of us that remember the 2000s, there was always that fight where the state would budget or would balance the budget on the backs of cities and counties, and as of now, that's not the case. Medi-Cal cost containment may affect local health access, especially for low-income and undocumented residents. There's some deferrals in education funding that could impact cash flow to the Morongo Unified School District, but it's also important to note that in regards to schools, that they are getting their cost of living adjustment is in the May revise. And then in regards to some wildfire mitigation and climate resilience remain funded, but some projects may be delayed or repurposed due to fund shifts. So for the CAL FIRE areas of the region, that would be important. So in short, we're not seeing any drastic local effects this year, but the state is clearly in a more cautious posture, and the caution could trickle down. There's lots of conversations about next year, the year after that, and whether we are going to be seeing the next 3 to 4 years with budgets in deficit, and so we'll have to be watchful for that. And then before I wrap up and pass it to Sam, I just wanted to flag a couple of other bills that are moving through the legislature that I know you have an interest in. SB 346 by Senator Durazo recently passed out of the Senate Judiciary Committee with near unanimous support. This bill, which is sponsored by the League of Cities, would give cities more tools to enforce short-term rental rules and ensure the proper collection of transient occupancy taxes, the TOT taxes, from platforms like Airbnb or Expedia. It's VRBO. This could be especially helpful in towns like ours where short-term rentals have become an important part of the economy and a significant revenue source for the town. Also wanted to point out that AB 735 by Assemblymember Juan Carrillo and SB 415 by Senator Eloise Reyes these are cleanup bills to last year's warehouse planning law that imposed broad mandates on all cities, even those without warehouses. So the current law requires cities to update circulation plans or face $50,000 fines every 6 months. These bills would extend the compliance deadline to 2035 for small cities and create a good faith effort standard to avoid penalties. So local government groups, there's a handful of them that lobby in Sacramento, all support these changes, but are pushing for the law to be narrowed to focus only on jurisdictions where warehousing is actually occurring. And also would just say that Friday, the 23rd, is a big day. It is appropriation suspense file day, so there will be 25 to 35% of the bills in each of the House will be held. A lot of the local government bills, in fact, most all of them have a fiscal or have a fiscal note on them, which means they're held in the suspense file, and we'll wait to see what happens with those bills as they move out of the suspense file onto the floor, or whether they make it to the other side. With that, I'll pass it on to Sam for a federal update.
Thank you very much, Chad. Last month, I worked with the town to submit a request to Congressman Obernolte's office for federal funding to support pedestrian safety improvements and stormwater drainage installation along Palm Avenue. This funding request is through the community project funding process, which is colloquially known as an earmark. And while projects submitted through this process have to meet certain eligibility criteria set up by the Congressional Appropriations Committees and federal agencies, it is ultimately up to members of Congress if they want to advance these projects for funding. The town did an excellent job of securing letters of support from the Boys and Girls Club, Senator Ochoa Bowe, and Assemblymember Wallace, among others. I think that really demonstrated both the community and political support for this project. Congressman Obernolte will need to post the projects that he has selected on his website by 6 p.m. Eastern on June 13th, so mark your calendars. If our project is selected, we will next need to see if it is included in the actual FY26 appropriations bill from Congress. Although I will note that in recent times, if a member of the House of Representatives advances a project, it has a very high likelihood of making it into the appropriations bill. From there, it would then need to be passed by Congress and signed into law to secure funding. But looking up to see what the congressman does is the first big step. I'll also note that while the federal fiscal year begins on October 1st, Congress typically does not pass their appropriations package until several months later. So this is going to be a process that we're going to be monitoring throughout the year and hopefully continuing to advocate for that critical funding for the town. And separate from the project we submitted through the appropriations process, you may have also heard about the budget reconciliation process that is dominating the conversation on Capitol Hill right now. This is a process that allows for legislation that is limited to directly impacting federal spending, revenues, or the debt limit to be passed with a simple majority vote, thus avoiding the Senate's 60-vote filibuster threshold. So the current reconciliation bill that's being debated right now on Capitol Hill includes a couple very big provisions. So one would be an extension and expansion of the 2017 tax cuts package, additional funding for defense and border security activities. It would be a rollback of some of the clean energy tax credits from the Inflation Reduction Act, expand work requirements for Medicaid, cut funding and change some eligibility for SNAP, and would also propose raising the state and local tax deduction known as SALT. The cap is currently at $10,000 for most taxpayers, but this would propose raising it to $30,000 for most taxpayers. So tonight at 1 a.m. Eastern, the House Rules Committee is going to vote on some additional changes to the bill before it is sent to the House floor. But a big caveat to everything I just mentioned there is we can expect this bill to change in the Senate. Some Republican senators have already gone on the record with issues with the House's approach, which will likely necessitate changes. And additionally, this bill will be subject to what's called the Byrd Rule in the Senate, which prohibits extraneous provisions that are unrelated to budget changes. So we'll still need to go through the Senate parliamentarian as well as input from various senators with their priorities. So we're hearing that congressional leaders are aiming to pass the reconciliation package this summer before the country reaches our debt limit, which right now the Treasury Department anticipates to be in August. But there will likely be a lot of changes between now and then, so we will continue to monitor both the appropriations process for our project and then any potential impacts of the reconciliation bill and keep you all updated. But thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you, Chad. So now let's see if the public might have any questions for Chad right now. So is there anyone here in person or online? No, nobody online, nobody in person. Let's take it back to the council. Anybody have any questions?
I'd just like to say thank you, Chad and Sam, for the update on that and the briefing, especially with the upcoming budget and potential for changes. There was one thing about education you were talking about of deferring payments on some of the school loans that were out there currently, education loans, I believe. I didn't understand what the deferral meant in that statement.
You know what it is actually just pushing it off to next fiscal year is what it is. It's a deferral, so they're not a reduction, just pushing it off. It's an accounting trick.
Okay, so there still won't be any action on it currently, is what you're saying? It'll just get deferred.
It's just a way of being able to, it's just an accounting measure that they've done. So there's no, it won't impact the funding that schools will receive. It's just when they receive it.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And anyone else? Councilmember Lombardo.
Just want to say thank you, Chad, for your work up there and keeping us informed on what's happening. It's kind of complicated sometimes, and it's one of these things that makes good conversation when we have a chance to join you at a conference or something like that, which we've had chances to do, and always have enjoyed your insight into these things. It helps us make better decisions. Thank you.
I just want to say thanks to both of you and let Chad know that the walls of Prop 64 are getting tall, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, thanks for the presentation. We appreciate it.
Mayor, if I might just add one additional comment, just a thanks on behalf of staff to Sam for his work on our application with Congressman Obernolte and the value of the council in establishing a relationship with an advocate that can help be an extension of staff where we may not have otherwise been able to file some of these grant applications or earmark applications. This year we've been able to do it. We did it in a very compressed time with Jessica and Alex putting that together. We would have never been able to do that without the efficiency and knowledge of Sam in that process. So thanks to that entire team and thanks to the council for bringing capital advocacy on board.
Let me just say one more thank you to Chad for, I had a chance to walk through the pool project that we have going on, and it's really spectacular, and I think you're going to be very pleased when it's finally completed. It's really looking good.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that all being finished. So thank you.
We owe you a lot of thanks.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, I think I said Prop 64, but Prop 68. Anyway, thank you, Chad and Sam. Thank you so much, Sam. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, just as we get through appropriations, there's going to be dozens of bills that the town is going to want to engage in. So we'll make sure to get the legislative committee a handful of bills to work through, and then we'll go to work on support or opposition letters for each of those. So we'll get them to you here soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So let's move on to more presentations. State Highway 247 project update, Caltrans.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we have Caltrans staff here to represent to you the project that is the pavement rehabilitation in 247, and that is from 62 up to Gin Road? Yep. And we have Caltrans.
Good evening. My name is Horace Corey. I serve as the legislative liaison for Caltrans District 8. Very nice to be here. Thank you, Mayor, and all the members of the council for the invitation for us to join you this evening. Thank you guys so much. I'm here to provide a quick presentation on an upcoming project. With me today are my representatives to the project management, and they will speak and they will answer any questions that you guys will have after the presentation. This past Sunday, crews started to work on State Route 247 roadway improvement project. It's on a SB1 funded project with a construction cost of an estimate around $21 million. This work will be located from the 247 junction from State Route 62 to just north of Gin Road. This project will extend in the pavement life. It will extend pavement life. The ride quality would be better with a mill overlay operation, dig outs, construction of an 8-foot standard shoulder and segments, and various drainage improvements. The purpose is to enhance safety and reduce roadway erosion. In addition, work includes installing signs, striping to enhance usability to bike riders as this is complete. Street features of the project to achieve more sustainable transportation system. What drivers can expect is during construction, there will be flagging operations to direct traffic lanes that will be required at various points in both directions, so as the public to keep in mind to expect delays throughout the week. Please always wait at stopping points for a pilot vehicle to safely guide you through these work areas. Work operations will happen Sunday through Thursday, primarily at night from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. Friday and Saturday nights, work permitted to happen as needed. Daytime work will occur on shoulders. Our hope is to complete this by the fall of this year, weather materials available permitted. Traffic holds may happen from time to time and allow for safe movement of equipment and for work locations. Finally, I've shared this project information on social media and throughout email newsletters. I brought a few copies with me tonight to share with you all as needed. Any additional questions can be directed to Carolina, who is Supervisor PEO, and Robert Tsai, who is with me tonight, sitting down in that lovely chair. Other than that, thank you guys so much for having us, and we welcome any questions to our project management. Thank you.
Right, is it? So are you two going to say anything or just wait for questions? Okay, great. So with that being said, let's put it back to the public. So let's see, is there anyone online? Anyone in person that would like to ask about the Highway 247 improvements? Let's take it back to the council,
Crowd, yeah.
and
got a
you go
question.
right ahead.
You were talking about expanding the width of the shoulders of 247 and the drainage, is that correct?
Yes, so we're adding a 8-foot shoulder in around post mile 23 to post mile 20. Currently, we don't have an existing shoulder, so we're going to pave an 8-foot shoulder there. And we have 2 drainage locations where we're extending the culverts near the 62-247 intersection near the Circle K. And we're also implementing 2 concrete low flow crossings at post mile 5 and post mile 10.
Great. Will there be room for bicyclists that want to use the shoulder? There's no designation for a bike lane or anything like that, is there?
Right, so currently that area where we're adding the 8-foot shoulder, they'll be able to use it once it's constructed.
I'm sorry, did you say it would be sufficient
Yeah,
for bike riding? Okay, very good. I know there's a lot of interest in, this morning I saw bike riders going up the hill near my house, and apparently it's pretty common. They like that challenge. So, all right, thank you.
I have a question. Will there be any signage for the bike lanes, or just people assuming they could use them?
we're implementing signage for bike lanes. It won't be a dedicated bike lane. It'll just say that bikes are authorized to use this route on the shoulders.
Okay.
Be aware of them. Okay.
And also, between Yucca Valley and the top, what was it, Gin Road? Will there, I mean, this project does not include passing lanes, does it?
No.
No,
We're,
okay.
all the existing passing lanes are going to remain in place. We're just going to restripe.
Do you know if there will be any plan for that? Do you know of anything in the works, like, like have an extra lane for a mile and have it a passing lane?
So currently, we do, well, as far as project management, where we program projects, there is no such work in scope right now, Mayor.
Wow.
And one more question. The rocky area between Circle K and the top, like Hillcrest, is a lot of windy road with a lot of rocks, and it gets really narrow, and people pass there. Do you know of any plans to, I don't want to get off subject too much, but to widen that part of the road at all? And will this encompass any of that in that area?
No, this project would be mainly a rehab project where we're rehabilitating the main road that's being used, so.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council?
Yeah, most of my questions just got answered. Again, the northern boundary is where? Gin Road?
Gin Road.
Okay. And work has already started, or it's going to start?
Yeah, we've started work since the beginning of May. Sunday night was the first night for our paving operation, and we'll have night work probably to the end of fall.
Okay, all right. And I think you said completion date is sometime in the fall?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Just a clarification on one of the comments you made. You were talking about the improvements at mile marker 20 to 23, and that was an addition to the so you'll be adding an 8-foot shoulder along that portion?
Correct.
Is that correct? So in many areas, it's just white lined or the fog line. There is no shoulder, as you know, sandy edge. So really, I just want everyone to know that the discussion today, I don't believe is conducive of having bike travel on those roads, except possibly in that 20 to 23 mile range.
So currently, most of the route has a existing 8-foot shoulder. Just that location from post mile 20 to 23 doesn't. So that's where we're adding and widening it. But most of 247, except for a small portion at the beginning near that hill, doesn't have a proper 8-foot shoulder, but the rest does.
Okay, and that'll be part of the rehab project because it's a little rolled over, I know, on those parts. So I know you're expanding it, but hopefully, as you said, resurfacing will improve the ride quality for travelers, I guess in any method that they use, correctly?
Yeah, so we're resurfacing just the main line, not the shoulders.
Not the shoulders?
The
Okay.
only shoulder section we're touching is 20 to 23.
And can you touch once again on the flood control improvements at the wash right here by the airport?
Yeah, we're extending, there's, I think, 3 pipes at that wash. We're just extending those and adding a head wall.
Okay. Will there be resurfacing there or removal of that area to replace those culverts, or is it just extending what's there now?
We'll resurface the roadway pavement in that area, but the culverts will remain in place.
Okay, thank you, because all weather crossings or improved weather crossings are important for our community, and that's a major road, so thank you for that. Appreciate it.
All right, I guess that's it. So thank you for your presentation and the information.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
We look forward to the improvements. Thank you.
Now we're moving on to a proclamation for National Public Works Week. So do we have a presentation, or do I just go up
You
there?
have it?
Okay. Going up.
Mayor, it's probably most fitting for you to provide your proclamation as you go to the podium there to our Public Works Director, Alec Kishta.
Big moment. Okay.
But you're always here, so. Thank you. Now, let me read this first, and we'll take a picture. So, May 18th through May 24th is National Public Works Week. And whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, which is appropriate because Caltrans is here, facilities and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Yucca Valley. And whereas these services could not be provided without the dedication efforts of public work professionals responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our national transportation, water supply, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas the year 2025 marks the 65th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, continuing the outreach on the importance of public works programs. Now therefore be it proclaimed, I, Jeff Droz, Mayor, do hereby designate the week of May 18th through 24th, 2025 as National Public Work Week, and urge the community to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and advancing quality of life for all. So thank you, Alex. And I do want to say, Alex, that you work really hard. Thank you. So I know that. Hey, Alex. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
While I'm up here, I want to say happy birthday to somebody. Fire Chief Bill Villarino. He's sitting there, and his birthday is actually today.
Yay!
Thank you.
He didn't take the day off? No.
Sure. Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor, Council Member, Town staff, and residents of Yucca Valley. This week, we celebrate National Public Works Week, and this year's theme is People, Purpose, and Presence. Captures the heart of what public works is all about. Our public works professionals serve our community every day, often behind the scenes, quietly making life better for all of us. They do it with purpose, driven by the needs of our people, whether it's keeping roads safe, parks clean, facilities running, or projects on track. During National Public Works Week, we take a moment to bring those efforts into the spotlight and recognize the essential role these individuals play in our daily lives. Our street maintenance crew, headed by Dave Johnson, Caleb, Justin, and David, keep our roads safe, our signs visible, and drainage flowing. Our parks maintenance, headed by Joe Powers, Aaron, Brian, Jesse, and Jesus, manage our parks, care for our landscaping, and keep our playgrounds safe. For facilities maintenance crew, led by James McCubbin, Andy, John, Rose, Ed, Preston, ensures our public buildings remain operational, systems are well maintained, and spaces are safe, functional, and welcoming. And our engineering and administrative staff, Victor, Dave, Snyder, Brooke, Doug, and Noel Osley as our contract town engineer, and I provide the planning, coordination, technical expertise, and project support behind every successful project works effort. Their hard work improves the quality of life for everyone in this community. So tonight, on behalf of our residents and this council, we honor their services and express our deep appreciation. We thank them for everything they are doing to keep the town strong, clean, and thriving. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. is this something we should open up for comment, or? Okay, so is there anyone in the public that would like to ask Alex a question, or anybody here in Public Works? Anyone online? I'd just like to say, I've been a drafter a lot of my life, AutoCAD, and I've known a lot of engineers, and I really can tell, it's like, not just what I see you do, I mean, you have, your list of projects you're doing, but it's a gut feeling, it's like, you know what you're doing, so, thank you. And does anybody else have any comments?
Yeah, I just want to say how proud we are of you and all the public works professionals that are making our town better every day. And we can tell it's a labor of love as much as it is an obligation. And you seem to really pour your heart into things, and there's so many projects going all the time now. It's just mind-boggling, and we saw a good example of it today when we walked through the building of the Yucca Valley recreational, whatever it is, the Arc, right? The new pool and the gymnasium. It's really going to be stunning. I'm really excited to see. And so many other projects that are just going. That's great.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah. Yeah, beyond the projects, I really appreciate the work day in and day out. Like you said, it's behind the scenes, but it's not really, because it's out there, the roads, the parks, the public facilities that are all in tip-top condition or very responsive. So I think you guys do a great job. And the last few years, we've had a series of retirements in the public work arena, and I kind of was wondering if we'd fall off during that time, if the production would fall off. But you've replaced staff and equipment, and it's been a seamless transition. And I think the staff that's on now, all of you are doing a great job. So thank you.
Probably almost kind of echo that, but one of the most important things we have here is our public safety that we have in place. We talk about that all the time. We work with our police department, work with our fire department, our EMS personnel, and the infrastructure that we have. But most importantly is how we tend to that and care for the things that make a quality of life good for the community. And Alex, you've been great to have back here again, and you've brought these projects that at times were very challenging, and you've brought them to life with the folks that you had mentioned during the time you spoke, and all of them make a difference in the town. Even in the facility we're here at tonight, the events that happen within our town, none of it would be possible without the crew members that Alex spoke of tonight. So to all of you, I applaud and thank you, Alex, for leading up all those great team members and continuing to keep them motivated and seeking our mission, which is a good quality of life, and that's what we're looking for. Thank you.
And you worked for Yucca a long time ago, and you left and you came back, so you need us and we need you.
Just one thing I would like to add. Our success is really based on the support of the council and the support of Curtis and Shane in our operation. It's a big plus for us and it's big help. Whatever we need, it just, we just discuss it and it's already done. And that is our success come from. Thank you very much for the work you do for us.
Thank you.
So Mayor, before we get to the approval of the agenda, I just wanted to make a note for item number 9. The annual street and drainage and landscape and lighting assessment districts has been noticed as a public hearing. So we will have, item number 9 will be a public hearing and then followed by 2 department reports, number 10 and 11.
Thank you, Leslie. So let's go with the approval of the agenda. So would anyone like to approve that?
I'd like to move that we approve the agenda.
No, second.
Council members Dennison,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Droz.
Yes. So now I guess we'll go into
Consent agenda.
consent agenda, yes. So items 4 through 8. So anyone want to talk about anything? Items 4 through 8? Anyone in the public?
We have a request to speak by Mr. Ed Kiesling for consent agenda item number 5.
Okay, great.
Evening. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for your, for Measure Y. It's going to be a big help to us. But I wanted to clear up a small misunderstanding in the record. The High Desert Artist is a physically sponsored project of AHA, Affordable Housing for Artists, and that's a 501(c) organization, and therefore we're also qualified as a 501(c) organization. And our funding basically comes from grants, gifts, and donations. And we try to operate as a nonprofit. So the money from the grant will support some classes and scholarships for our community. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ed.
Honorable Mayor, with those comments made by Mr. Kiesling for item number 5, there's a little bit of clarity that needs to occur behind the scenes, so we would ask that item 5 be pulled from the agenda this evening and continued.
All right.
Okay.
Anyone else in the public? No, let's bring it back to the council. If anybody wants to approve the consent agenda without item 5, we'll pull that for a future date.
Mayor, I'll move to approve items 4 through 8, with the exception of item 5 for further discussion.
I'll second.
Council members Dennison,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Droz.
Yes. Now we're going to start our public hearing, item number 9, annual street and drainage and landscape and lighting assessment districts, ordering the levy and collection of assessment for fiscal year 25-26. So let's open the public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item before you tonight, recommendation is to adopt the resolution approving and confirming the assessment diagrams and confirming the assessment as set forth in the engineer's report for landscaping, lighting, maintenance districts, and street and drainage maintenance district within the existing districts for the 25-26 tax year, and authorize the levy of assessment upon real property as identified in the engineer's report. So with us today, we have our consultant, Nadia and Charmaine from Albert Webb Financials, to give the presentation to the council. Nadia?
Good evening. Oops. Am I doing it wrong?
Is the green light on?
There we go.
Oh, you're talking about that, okay.
Sorry about that. Let's do it again. So Alex already read the recommendation for this evening. So to go over some history on the district, the town previously approved the formation of landscape and lighting maintenance districts and street drainage maintenance districts, which must be updated and approved by the town annually pursuant to state law. On April 1st, 2025, the Town Council approved Resolution Number 2505, directing the preparation of the Assessment Engineer's Report, describing any improvements within the districts and any substantial changes in the existing improvements within the existing districts. On April 15th, 2025, the Town Council adopted Resolution 25-something, preliminary approving the engineer's report for the existing assessment districts and setting the public hearing for tonight. The districts consist of 4 zones. The first one, Zone 1, would be track map 16957, and the map shows the location of the parcels. The second one is 16587. Zone 3 is 17328, and 4 is 17455. The assessment levies for this year for Zone 1, for the landscape and lighting, there are 34 parcels. The maximum assessment per unit is 304.25. The actual levy is 49.30. for a total levy amount of $1676.43. For the street drainage, those same parcels have a maximum assessment of $1236.62. The actual levy is $25.54 for a total of $834.36. Zone 2, the landscape and lighting, there are 55 units. The maximum rate is $345.58. The actual assessment is $47.20 for a total of $2596.03. For the street drainage, those same parcels have a maximum assessment of $691.16. For the actual levy is $1973 for a total of $1,085.31. For Zone 3, there are 17 units in the landscape and lighting district with a maximum assessment of $598.08 with a levy amount of $47.44 for a total of $806.53. Those same parcels in the street drainage district have a maximum of $1,046.76. The actual levy is $1913 for a total of $325.31. Zone 5 is street drainage maintenance only, and that is at $318 is the max. The actual levy is .62 for a total of $44.90 for the year. No alternatives are recommended. The recommended action is necessary for compliance with state law. The assessment districts provide revenue to offset the cost of maintenance of public improvements to serve the development projects. The engineer's report set forth the maximum allowable assessment for each parcel. So our recommendations for this evening are to adopt the resolutions approving and confirming the assessment diagrams and confirming the assessments as set forth in the engineer's reports for landscape and lighting maintenance districts and street drainage maintenance districts within the existing districts for fiscal year 2025-2026. Authorize the levy of assessments upon real property as identified in the engineer's reports. And I'm available for any questions.
All right, thank you. So is there anyone in the public here in person or online that would like to comment on this or questions? Anyone here in person? No? Let's bring it back to the council. Any council members? No?
This is pretty standard, done every year. It's nice to note that the assessments are way below the maximum allowable, and it goes to show the hard efforts of our crews to keep costs at a minimum. And we hope that our residents understand that we are working in their best interest, and this is necessary to comply with state law. So I move that we approve unless there's further discussion.
Second.
So, did you have a comment? Yes. So, should we take the vote or close the hearing first? I don't know.
Council members Dennison.
I would recommend you close the hearing and then proceed with your vote.
Okay, so let's close the public hearing. Now we'll vote. I knew
Council
that.
members Dennison.
Yes.
Lombardo.
Yes.
Schooler.
Yes.
And Mayor Droz.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Let's go on to item number 10, townwide crack slurry Cape Seal project. Let's see what we have.
Good evening, Mayor and Council again. The recommendation before you tonight is to approve the award of a construction contract with American Asphalt South, Inc. in the amount of $1,550,150 to construct the townwide crack slurry Cape Seal project. Authorize the construction bid amount, construction contingencies, and inspection cost in the total amount of $1.862153, and authorize the mayor and town manager and town attorney to execute the agreement, and authorize the town manager or designee to expend contingency funds if necessary for project completion. So with us today, Victor Ladua, our engineer technician, to give the staff report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you is the recommendation that Alex just mentioned. So we'll move on to previous actions on this item. On April 1st, 2025, Town Council adopted resolution number 25-07, approving plans, specifications, and estimates for the construction of townwide slurry Cape Seal project, town project number 7037 and 8340, and authorize the town clerk to advertise and receive bids. So just a little background on the project. Annual maintenance effort is designed to extend the useful life of roadway pavement throughout the town. Goal is to prevent deterioration from reaching a stage where a full road reconstruction becomes necessary, which would be a significant cost to the town. Project involves three main components, generally consist of applying a crack sealant, along with the type 2 or type 3 slurry seal to the roadway, as well as Cape Seal surface application. Included in the project is also the replacement of obliterated traffic striping and damaged raised pavement markers. So the following slides show all the maps for all the streets that will be a part of the project. The streets that are in purple will be streets that will have a Cape Seal application. Streets that are in orange will have the slurry seal application. So this is residents to the north of 62 between State Route 247 and Sage Avenue, so over by the airport area. And residential streets to the south of 62 between Sage Avenue and Warren Vista with outlying streets to the east of Warren Vista. So this is the area. We have Sonic and Walgreens, a lot of businesses in that area that will need some coordination. And then to the south of Onaga Trail, there's a few residential streets that will be a part of the project. Again, purple streets will be Cape Seal, and orange streets will have the slurry seal application. Included in the project, we'll also have Yucca Mesa Road from Barron Drive to Douglas Lane, as well as Golden Bee Drive from Troy Avenue to Sage. The town received, sealed bids were received and opened on May 1st, 2025. We received 5 bids, as shown below, ranging from $1.55 million to $2.19 million. The town reviewed the bid packages and confirmed that American Asphalt South, Inc., out of Riverside, California, is the lowest responsible and responsive bidder with a total bid amount of $1,550,150. If awarded tonight by the mayor and town council, construction work is anticipated to begin in June of 2025 after school is out of session and will be completed by September of 2025. The fiscal year 2024-25 amended budget allocates funding for the Animal Street, crack, slurry, and Cape Seal maintenance as follows, with Measure I Fund 524 contributing $1,229,000 and RMRA SB1 funding contributing $633,153. So our total project funding this year is $1,862,153. The overall cost of the improvement work breakdown is as follows. So the construction bid amount came out to $1,550,150. Construction contingency set at $282,003, with engineering and inspections at $20,000. So our total project cost, projected project cost, is $1,862,153. And the following funding, as mentioned in the previous slide, that's the breakdown for our total project fund. The recommendation before you this evening is to approve the award of a construction contract with American Asphalt South, Inc. in the amount of $1,550,150 to construct the townwide crack slurry Cape Seal project. Authorized construction bid amount, construction contingencies, and inspection costs in the total amount of $1,862,153. And also authorizing the mayor, town manager, and town attorney to execute the agreement, and authorize town manager or designee to expend contingency funds if necessary for project completion. That concludes our presentation this evening, and I'm happy to answer any questions following public comment.
Thank you. And your name is Victor, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Victor. Is there anyone in the public that would like to ask any questions on this or have comment? Anyone online? No? Anyone here in the room? No? Any council members? No? All right.
I'd just like to say, well done, Victor. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the great presentation. So now we need to authorize this. So anyone want to make a motion?
Mayor, I'll go ahead and move the item forward as presented by staff.
I'll be happy to second.
Council members Dennison.
Yes.
Lombardo.
Yes.
Schooler.
Yes.
And Mayor Droz.
Yes. Now we have item number 11, Public Safety Contract Amendment.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This item before you this evening is part of your annual budget actions. This one is related to public safety, and it's the approval of the amendment to your public safety contract, also known as your Schedule A contract with San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. In the staff report, we identified that the projected cost, as currently written, is $6,489,400 and represents an actual slight decrease in Schedule A costs from prior year. My 20 years here, that's never happened before. So that's the good news. The bad news is, the caveat is county public safety is under contract negotiations, and so we would expect potentially some modifications to that later in the fiscal year. So as part of your two-year budget, we've left the current budget allocation, which includes about a 3% increase in Schedule A, unchanged at this point, and hopefully that will be sufficient to accommodate any potential changes. The captain's going to give an overview of our public safety program, but I do want to have one other comment, and that is we've been utilizing the same Schedule A structure now for probably about the better part of 10 years, close to 10 years. I think that's a reflection that the population base in Yucca Valley hasn't really changed in 10 years either. It's been around 21 to 22,000 for that time period. We have seen an uptick in daily travel, daily usage, your circulation flows during the day, and some of the other impacts from visitation. But in terms of day-to-day safety calls from residents, we'll let the captain talk about that. But at some point, it will be incumbent upon us to evaluate and ensure that those levels of staffing that we have through our Schedule A contract are sufficient. Likely will need to be, we always want to stay ahead of it. And so with that, we'll want to make sure that funding allocations and prioritizations are established by the council and the community such that we continue to deliver on what the council's number one priority for this community is, which is public safety. So with that, Captain, I'll turn it over to you to run through the presentation this evening.
Thank you very much, and Mayor and Council, thank you for the opportunity to provide an update and touch on some of the highlights of 2024. The deputies out here in Yucca Valley are extremely busy. As you can see, last year they handled just about 20,000 calls for service, took more than 2,000 reports. Calls for service numbers can be somewhat deceptive, meaning when a deputy conducts a traffic stop, goes to a business to contact a business owner, not necessarily about a crime, those all generate a call for service. So we don't expect to see the reports taken to be anywhere near the calls handled, but this just shows you how busy we are. And as you can see, 633 arrests were made in 2024, several of those repeat offenders, but we'll get into that in some subsequent slides. Our Detective Bureau, long before I got here, when the town of Yucca Valley authorized Measure Y and the council authorized a second detective position, you are credited certainly with the success rate of our bureau. As you could see, just in 2024 alone, 298 cases were assigned to the Detective Bureau. 243 of those are already closed at the time of this PowerPoint, and 55 remained open. Keep in mind that that's more than 81%, which is very good for a Detective Bureau handling these serious crimes that you see here. But also the 55 open cases some of those will be closed. You know, we do the statistics, and if a felony case that gets assigned to the Detective Bureau in mid-December pops up, it's not that it won't be solved, it just wasn't solved in 2024. So the solve rate of 81% is actually higher. So the detectives that you have working here in Yucca Valley are doing a phenomenal job. And it's because of the quality of cases that are being passed along from our deputy sheriffs up here. I've worked in several jurisdictions throughout the sheriff's department and can tell you what your deputy sheriffs are exposed to up here produces a very high caliber skill set. And so a lot of times the reports that are going back to the Detective Bureau are pretty advanced, meaning it's not just getting the information, passing it along. We have deputies that are writing search warrants, that are doing very detailed, in-depth interviews, getting bank records, cell phone records. So a lot of times by the time it makes it to the Detective Bureau, it's simply we need to contact somebody who's outside of our area or who the patrol deputies weren't able to get a hold of. So all in all, the Yucca Valley crew is performing very well. As you remember, about a year ago, we got K9 Najee, definitely our most popular deputy sheriff up here in the Morongo Basin. She has been used quite a bit. As you can see, in just over a year, her stats go through March of this year, but she's been called out 140 times, 52 deployments, meaning a lot of times Najee's called when we get a missing juvenile or an elderly person with a diminished mental capacity, and before Najee even gets there, we've located that individual. So it's not that she's been called out 140 times and only found 11 people. A lot of the times, because our basin is so big, and clearly this is a resource that we share with the county area and 29 Palms, sometimes it takes Najee a little while to get there, and sometimes she's coming from home. So it's very exciting, though, the 11 finds that we have. We've had some missing very young children who Najee has found. We had 3 or 4 of those are elderly individuals who walked away, and as you can imagine, there's a very panicked family, loved ones behind that. One of the elderly ladies that Najee found, they used her Bible as a scent article because she was constantly thumbing through this Bible, and Najee was able to sniff that Bible, and all Najee knows is she's going to find a ball at the end of that scent trail, but was able to safely reunite this individual with their family. So it's great. She continues to do good things, and Najee doesn't differentiate. She doesn't know if she's looking for a child, if she's looking for an elderly person, or if she's looking for a suspect who we're looking to take into custody. Again, she's just following that scent. She's not going to bite you at the end, but she's certainly going to let the deputies know, or certainly her handler, Deputy Bacher, know where the end of that trail goes. Countywide operations, you guys have heard of these. Sheriff Dykes is very proactive in identifying problems throughout the county. Usually when something's popping off here in Yucca Valley, it's not just a Yucca Valley problem. As you remember, and this happened for the most part before I got here, but when we were talking about Operation Hammer Strike and a lot of the marijuana that was the illegal marijuana grows that were going up here in the Morongo Basin. Well, it's also happening out in Lucerne and Hesperia and Victorville and the unincorporated areas of San Bernardino. So typically the sheriff will get a deputy or 2 from each of the stations, put a task force together, get them really good, and dispatch them to different areas, sometimes spending days or weeks at a time. And so we're not just having, a couple of Morongo Basin deputies deal with this problem. We're having deputies from all over the county who have done it in different jurisdictions. And speaking specifically about marijuana, there were more than 100 reported illegal grows up here in the Morongo Basin. And during this operation, we got those numbers all the way down to 0. So they do tip up when we get reports of them. Once we get 2 or 3, since that operation concluded, the sheriff added a second marijuana team. So we get them up here and they knock those out. Sometimes it's something small they can handle that day. Sometimes the cases are unfounded, or sometimes they bring a whole bunch of their friends and we eradicate a marijuana grow and keep those numbers very low. So the one that we're currently working on now is Operation Shelter Me, and it's in its infancy stages, but we're working to really focus on our unhoused population. As you know, our HOPE team, Inroads, have done a phenomenal job with doing our best to connect these individuals with resources. Now we're taking an approach where we're trying to partner with code enforcement Because a lot of times when we take these individuals and connect them with services, they have a whole bunch of stuff that they don't necessarily want to part with, and I mean, that's all they own and they can't take it with them. So we're working towards solutions with that, but basically, a lot of things that we talk about in here at council meetings are being talked about elsewhere, and the sheriff pays attention to those and puts these operations together. So that's all included, obviously, as part of your Schedule A, not just the deputies here. As we've seen throughout 2024, other than the dive team, because we don't have big bodies of water except for the ponds at Hawks Landing where I put golf balls in, there's not a huge need for dive team up here, but all of those other all the other divisions within the sheriff's department, this is part of your Schedule A contract. When we had, like a couple weeks ago, we had a deputy involved shooting, and they send up a team of specialized detectives who handle those and homicides, and they're really good at it. And along with them comes, our civil liabilities division and CSI and a whole bunch of other resources where they're not turning around and giving Yucca Valley or any other jurisdiction a bill. This is part of the cost of the Schedule A. When we call the helicopter up, a lot of times when we're calling Najee out, we get the helicopter up here and do everything we can to find that missing person or to assist with a vehicle chase. So these are all some of the different divisions that help us out and come up here whenever we request them. This is one that doesn't get talked about enough. This is the Eagle Sheriff's remote reporting. We have a cadre of people down at our headquarters and also up in Victorville who work in a dispatch type center. And when a call for service comes in, and it looks like a majority, if not all of that call can be handled via a telephone call, instead of having them wait for one of your Yucca Valley deputies to become available from emergency calls, they will take the report right over the phone. So it really cuts down on the response time that your constituents are waiting for a deputy, and it also frees deputy sheriffs up to go from higher priority call to higher priority call. Unfortunately, when somebody gets a bicycle stolen or returns to a home after they haven't been there in a couple weeks and their home was burglarized, but we don't necessarily have any fresh leads, sometimes those calls can wait a little bit as the deputies are going from car crashes to burglary alarms to things that are happening in progress. So in addition to taking those reports, as you can see, they took 90 for Yucca Valley alone last year. If it's something like a burglary where eventually we're going to need to send somebody out to collect evidence, dust for fingerprints, contact neighbors, that ESSR can get things started and have the report 80% of the way done so that when a deputy goes out there, they're only spending about 20% of the time that they would when they're handling the call. Proposition 36, we've talked about this in the past, but I really wanted to highlight this again. This is a proposition that passed unanimously throughout the state in all 58 counties. Very popular. This gives the district attorney's office definitely more teeth for our repeat offenders, both on the theft side and the drug use side. How it's really affected Yucca Valley is we were starting to get a trend of seeing fewer of our small businesses and even some of the larger businesses like Walmart and Home Depot and Walgreens put in calls for service. It was very difficult because not too long ago, we had some penal codes, like Penal Code 666, which is petty theft with a prior, meaning if you go steal and you get convicted, and you go steal and you get convicted, and you just keep doing these smaller amounts, basically you were given a citation. If you show up for court, sometimes you were given citation. There was very little teeth, and there wasn't really an incentive to change your behavior. The California voters years ago got rid of that and some other penal codes. And so it became very frustrating for our small business owners. We would have individuals sometimes going into stores like a Walmart or Costco and other jurisdictions with a calculator and making sure they stayed under the $950 threshold, knowing that they would only get a ticket. They wouldn't even spend a night in jail. And then if they show up in court, again, the consequences were pretty minor. So now we can use those prior convictions. So when I talked about the arrests on one of the first slides, we're going to be getting fewer and fewer offenders because now the district attorney's office has an option to give them more jail time. When our deputy district attorneys here in Joshua Tree seen the same offenders over and over, and so now they're actually able to do a little bit more, and if they don't change their behavior, they could actually end up doing a significant amount of time incarcerated. On the other half of this, Prop 36, is also with drug use. A lot of our repeat offenders and people struggling out on the street are drug users. And like some of the misdemeanor thefts, it becomes very difficult for a judge to convince them to change their behavior. Now with Prop 36, and the supervising deputy DA has a great presentation if you're ever interested, but they have an option to go into court. The goal is not to lock people up and throw away the key. There is going to be an option where they can go in, enter into a drug treatment program, show completion of this, and become a regular tax-paying member of society, and that is the goal. But certainly if they're not willing to commit to that, to bettering their lives, and they're just using drugs over and over again and becoming a detriment to society and more importantly to themselves, again, this gives the district attorney's office a little bit more teeth, and certainly have the threat of incarceration and the reality of spending significant amount of time from their family while they're in custody. So this has been great, and it just started in December. Numbers on this are very tough, but here in the Morongo Basin, we've had, I believe it's 30 cases, 30 arrests related to Prop 36, especially January, February, March. We were pushing out a lot of press releases. At least a third of those came from Yucca Valley, a lot from some of the bigger businesses. And so I know that they certainly appreciate it, and it's going to, I think, help the town quite a bit. In 2024, we participated in a whole bunch of these events. As you guys know, we have a very active volunteer program with our Citizens on Patrol, our search and rescue members, and we've really lifted up our Explorer program, and now we have a whole bunch of explorers running around who, have joined me out at the trunk or treat events and National Night Out and some of these events. But in addition to that, we're getting a whole bunch of our deputies in there, even in their off time, coming out and volunteering at some of these events. So it's great. This is very important for the community to see, especially some people who maybe have had a bad experience with law enforcement in the past. A lot of these events like the Veterans Day Tribute and Shop with a Cop, where they can go talk to a deputy sheriff. They're not just watching them go by in a parade, but actually get to know the person behind that badge, and hopefully next time have a very trusting relationship or be inclined to call us if they need help. So these events are worth their weight in gold, and certainly when the town invites us, we are there. As you know, the Sheriff's Service Specialist is invaluable. Measure Y, again, this is before me, provided a second Sheriff's Service Specialist for Yucca Valley, and similar to the ESRR, where it's a force multiplier for deputy sheriffs, and it allows deputy sheriffs to remain available for emergency calls and to spend times on those investigations like the ones I referred to that go to the Detective Bureau. Because we have Sheriff Service Specialists who become very good at dusting for fingerprints and doing the back half of a traffic collision, meaning the deputy will certainly go there for the initial emergency, make sure the roadway is safe and those injured get to the hospital, but we can have someone who is, speaking of the Schedule A, just making less money per hour, but certainly capable of doing those investigations, finish off that investigation and let that deputy sheriff go to emergency calls or to go do traffic enforcement. So this is great. This is really appreciate the reauthorization of Measure Y, because Yucca Valley, I think, would be in a very different situation as far as some of our clearance rates and response times without the Sheriff's Service Specialist. So I applaud the residents for reauthorizing that. So that's a basic wrap-up of 2024. I'd love to give you some of those response times or compare year to year. As you know, we talked quite a bit about the network disruption a couple of years ago when it occurred. So when you're talking about doing a 2, 3, 5-year look back, I don't have those numbers to provide to you. The town manager and I have had conversations, and as soon as that annual report is available, I will certainly share it, and we can talk about those numbers then, but certainly willing and able to answer any questions from you or the public.
Captain, thank you. Appreciate that. I'm going to throw you a curveball. We didn't talk about it, but maybe you have some recollection. When we had the chance to meet as contract cities with Sheriff Dyke, has started to talk a little bit about some of the technology changes that are coming to the department. Along those lines, exploring the potential use of AI to help continue to be effective and efficient in the ability to deliver services. Do you have any other color on AI and how that might help the department in the future?
No, that definitely is a curveball. I'm not sure exactly where we're going to go with AI. I can tell you, though, that speaking of technology, just in the last few years where we have gone, as you know now, when you see a deputy sheriff out on the street, they all are wearing the body cameras. And this has been phenomenal for evidence in courtrooms, for people who, believe it or not, come into the station to complain about their interaction, and a lot of times we can let them watch that video, and because they were amped up at the time and stressed, we've seen the complaints at the station level go down quite a bit. Just, hey, come in tomorrow, let's watch this together, and it's gotten certainly reduced the number of complaints. But most importantly, it really memorializes those interviews, what the scene looked like at the time. The plan is, some of the stuff I can touch on with AI is deputy sheriffs with the new report writing software that we were hoping to get. We were hoping to get it in the first quarter, and it's not here yet. Basically, a deputy sheriff can walk around a scene of a burglary with the body cam running and talk as if he's narrating. You know, there's a 4-foot chain link fence on the north side of the house. There's a doghouse and a shed and a this and that. Go back to the vehicle, or when they're ready to write that report, and AI will produce a draft of what that deputy just narrated. And then it's kind of nice. There's some fail-safes in there. We certainly don't want to just trust the AI and send that to the district attorney's office. So the AI purposefully, or the programming purposefully, will put in, you know, yellow jacket or blue umbrella in the middle of your report, meaning it'll give you a draft, but that deputy needs to read line by line by line and make sure and take those out. It won't allow them to submit it without it, but they can read through and make sure everything is still factual, because at the end of the day, when they go testify in court, or it becomes a very important permanent record for a victim of a crime, that it's accurate for what happened that day. There are some other conversations as far as drones and some other things that we would certainly have future discussions on, but our sheriff now is very into at least exploring AI, and right now it's at least popping up in those report writing applications.
Thank you. That's the one I was referring to, so thank you for that. Mayor, after questions, the recommendation is before you in the staff report.
All right, thank you, Captain. Is there anyone in the public, online or in person? Nobody online. Anybody in person that has a question or comment? Go right ahead.
I'd just like to say, with the 12 years being here in the community, I think that you guys have done a stellar job. Especially like 2 years ago, I felt like gangs were starting to come into town. There was graffiti. We have 2 buildings. There was graffiti constantly trying to keep up. That has all been eradicated. I haven't seen any graffiti in town. So thank you for that. I've had calls to our church buildings before, immediate, on the spot. Last week, I saw the sheriff department with the schools there at Yucca L. They had 2 cops, sheriff deputies there engaging with the children. I have 4 children, 3 different schools, and so one thing that I can honestly say before the council is I feel safe, my children feel safe, 2 daughters high school, a son in middle school, a son in elementary. So I want to thank you for that, and we support that too. I know as a church, we kind of do on the back side of it, where we reach out to people who do struggle or are having problems. So we work on that side of it. So I just kind of, not to take too much time, but I do thank you for that. Do feel safe in this town, and that's a very important factor. And I represent, a growing, larger community of people. Our church in Yucca Valley is growing, a lot of young people, and I'm working with that in that sense, but do want to thank you and recognize that I feel it's an exceptional job that's being done.
Thank you, and I appreciate you saying that, and thank you for your prayer that kicked off the meeting. I'm glad you brought up graffiti when that was starting to pop up. I think I heard from each of the council members at different times, hey, did you see it here? Did you see it here? And we created a system internally where we were comparing graffiti, because it's usually not just at the high school or not just on one building. And usually they're not the smartest of individuals, so they're the easier ones to catch. But as much as I thank you on behalf of my guys, but I have an air-conditioned office, and I end up talking to the town manager and coming to these meetings quite a bit, but I will certainly pass along that praise to the deputies who are doing the job.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else in the public? Somebody in the back?
What happened to the death in the bathroom on Sunday?
Yeah, there was a death investigation that took place here at the community center in the bathroom. It was initially reported as a possible drug overdose, and that does not appear to be the case. It is still under review. The Coroner's Division took over that investigation. That individual will be receiving an autopsy. I don't have those results yet, and I'm almost certain the autopsy hasn't taken place yet, but it's being investigated as we investigate them all very carefully until we do determine that it's natural or accidental, because if it does turn out to be a crime, we have all of those pictures, we have the witness name, the reporting party name, and everything already memorialized just in case. But we don't have, that hasn't concluded yet, that investigation.
Thank you.
Hi,
Yes,
my
go
name
right
is
ahead.
Savannah Jacobs. Just a couple things. The first thing, I am part of an anti-homeless coalition. It's known as the Morongo Basin Housing Solutions Team. So if there is work that you are doing to help the unhoused, I urge you to maybe speak with me, and I can get you in contact with the person who started the organization, because we're pretty much partnering with every single nonprofit that's helping the unhoused. The second thing, I know that the AI part isn't really like the main idea of what you were talking about, but I would really urge maybe law enforcement to consider like the environmental impacts of using AI and how that can attribute to issues that happen in the future. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? Okay, oh, we have one more person.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Captain, I would like to say thank you for all that you do. Your deputies have definitely made this a safer environment to be in. I'm originally from LA. And so I actually feel safer being up here versus down there. And so when I actually began to see some of the graffiti, I was saying, oh, this is not what I moved up here for. So thank you for that. Thank your deputies. I actually know a few of your deputies because I used to work for the Plus program. So with that being said, I also want to say that I currently work for Reach Out Yucca Valley, who is which is the MAP program, Medicated Assistant Treatment Program. And we help individuals who are seeking treatment for their opioid and substance use disorder. We help to facilitate them a doctor's appointment, get on Suboxone, as well as drug and alcohol counseling. So please, I invite all of you out to maybe visit our facility. We're right across the street at 7248 Joshua Lane. We would really love to see any and all of you come down just so we can give you more of information of who we are and what we do and how we're trying to help our community here. And one last thing, we're currently putting together a mobile shower project for the unhoused in 29 Palms. Sorry, guys. But we would love to see any of your deputies come out, work alongside of us. We would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And those of you that have already spoke, if you have the time after the meeting or you can do it during the meeting, if you go see our town clerk, Leslie, and fill out a form that tells us who you are and that you spoke during the meeting. Is there anyone else in the public? Okay, let's take it back to the council. So anything over here?
No, I'm fine.
No? Anybody over here?
Good job.
Yes. Councilmember Schooler.
Yeah, Captain, thank you for the report. It's thorough, and I appreciate the public comments. What the pastor said is kind of how I feel about the community and have for a long time. Our relationship with our contract sheriff's department has been really good. We're not without problems. I think anytime you have people, you get the potential for problems. But you guys have been right there solving problems, addressing the problems, whether it's graffiti or gang presence or anything over the years. Very responsive. And the other public comment was we feel safe. In this community, we feel safe. And generally, that's all the years I've been here, that's been my feeling, and something that I've heard a lot of people brag about, that this is a safe community. So thank you for that. I think if people realize our alternative to this contract is to try and build our own sheriff's department and not have the resources to the training, the expertise, the equipment that county sheriff has, we'd be woefully behind the 8 ball on that. And so this has been very beneficial for our community. I appreciate the comments that you made on Prop 36, and glad to hear the positive report on that. I think it felt from where I sit, like your hands were tied for a long time in enforcement, and I think that's a good report on that. Would like to say another word about Captain Warwick. Captain Warwick is everywhere in this community. All of the nonprofits that put on events, fundraisers, golf tournaments, whatever, Captain Warwick and a lot of times members of your team show up. And that's really not part of the job, but you just do that. You have become a big part of our community. And I for one, appreciate seeing you there. And finally, your impact on Miracle League, which is a baseball program for residents of our community who are with disabilities. Week after week, Captain shows up. This is on his own time after work. He's a pitcher. He's an umpire. He's a cheerleader. He is high energy participant in the Miracle League program, and also the town attorney Tom Jex. They make a dynamic team and really add a lot to that program. So I for one really appreciate your involvement in the community. So thank you very much, and thanks for the report.
Councilmember Dennison.
I just wanted to say thank you. They've mentioned all the things that you do and your team does. The leadership is exceptional. And one of the things that you mentioned briefly is the depth of your department. And the department has so many resources available. We've heard some of those that are challenged in our community, whether it's homelessness, addiction problems. Those are things outside of what you really think about with crime. But those are the things that you've mentioned many times, that we have to take care of those beginnings of those lifestyles of crime, if there's any relationship at all. But most of the time, what you're doing is just reaching out your hand and helping somebody, whatever that situation may be. But the depth of service is very much appreciated, and I see that in our sheriff's department. We've seen each other at different events outside of this, the town, and our sheriff's department, under Sheriff Dykes, is really exceptional. Shannon's doing a fantastic job there as our sheriff, but that leadership falls all the way down to you, and your deputies every single one of them that I've talked to says they really enjoy being in this community and helping the residents. So thank you. That's just people following a good leader, and I appreciate you and what you do.
All right. Well, thank you. I concur also, and thank you, yourself, and all your deputies. You guys do an incredible job here, so thank you. So now we want to, we need somebody to recommend that the town council approve the 2025-2026 contract with the sheriff's department.
Mayor, I'll move the item.
And Dennison will second.
Council members Dennison.
Yes.
Lombardo.
Yes.
Schooler.
Yes.
And Mayor Droz.
Yes. Now we move on to future agenda items.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of updates for your future agenda planning and calendar planning Following council direction, you can expect to receive back your Yucca Valley Animal Shelter Operational Draft Report at your next council meeting on 6/3. Along with that, we've been working on reviewing and revising our volunteer program. That policy and particularly how it correlates to our animal shelter will be brought back before you on 6/3 as well. 6/17, we anticipate bringing back to the Old Town naming project that's recently gone through PRCC. And finally, the Farmers Market RFP in its final form should be back before the Town Council on 6/17. So those are some of the items in addition to anything that you want to bring up tonight, Mayor.
All right, thank you. So does any council member have anything they want to bring up in the future?
No, I think we're looking forward to June.
Well, we'll move on then to public comment. Let's see here. The town council takes this time to consider your comments on items of concern which are not on the agenda. When you are called to speak, please state your name and the community of residence. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Inappropriate behavior which disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting will result in forfeiture of your public comment privileges. The Town Council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussing items not on the printed agenda. So is there anyone in the public that would like to speak? Do we have anyone, Leslie?
Frank, did you want to say something?
We have a couple of employees that we should recognize. One of them is Nita, who takes care of the senior club, and the other one is Rose. And both of their husbands work with them, that takes care of the cleaning of this and everything else. And I think we should kind of say something to them or give them something that they deserve, although all our employees work hard. But these two, you can never find people like them. Nita, 1 in a million. And Rose, how she gets everything set up and whatnot, I don't think she misses a beat either. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Susan Herring.
Thank you, Council. Susan Herring, Pioneer Town. I reviewed the video from the animal shelter presentation because there's one statement that was made during that, and it was Shane mentioned about taking the next 6 to 8 months to evaluate software systems. I cannot emphasize enough how important that intake software is. And if you're going to take another 6 to 8 months, you're losing half of what you are doing on the back end. That intake software, having that available to record what dogs are going into your shelter is just as important as what's going out. And I emailed you guys back in early December. So 6 months later, we're still talking about this, and now you're going to add another 6 to 8 months. And I'm going to be blunt. You guys work as slow as molasses. And that goes along with the volunteer program. I know you want to do a volunteer program for the whole town, but again, like was mentioned, can't you fast track that volunteer program for just the shelter and get that going? Every day that goes by, you have people, you have your own employees that can benefit from that. Hours, let me talk to you about hours. Mayor, you made a fantastic point about maybe being open on Sunday. And the response from management was, it may be hard to recruit people because of Sunday hours. I'm going to tell you, from working for decades in the hospital industry, 24/7, you don't dictate based on what is best for your employees. You base the hours of that shelter based on what's best for your community. That, to me, you've got first responders here, people that work 24/7, 7 days a week, retail people, people in the restaurant. There's whole bunches of people that are willing to work weekends and evening hours. That should not stop you from scheduling your shelter hours. If you were to look at your shelter hours on a Saturday, I'm sure that's your highest volume day. Why? Because again, people do work mostly Monday through Friday. If you were open, like the mayor suggested, for a few hours on Sunday or an evening, I think that would be very beneficial to getting your dogs adopted and the needs for your community. Which brings up the last statement, closing during the Christmas holiday. I cannot believe that this shelter closes 9 days during the holidays for the holidays. Again, this shelter should not be dictating its hours based on what's best for the employees that work here. It should be what's best for the community. You guys throw this community into a tizzy when you close that shelter for those 9 days. I understand Christmas Day, New Year's, and things like that, but it's set out there those other days. Please take that in consideration. Again, you guys work for us.
Thank you, Susan.
Christine Bostrom, and then we'll have James Porter after that.
I'm Christine, and I live in Yucca Valley. I'm going to continue the conversation from the last meeting in regard to calling people out. I want you all to know I don't call people out lightly. There has to be pretty convincing information and facts to call out Doug Smith. You all don't seem to acknowledge that. I was going to the shelter every month for several months with blankets and cases of dog food and cat food. The cat cages are right in front when you walk in, so I would go say hi. There were never more than 4 cats there, and usually just 2. And no kittens, no kittens. Lots of empty cages, so I cannot get past the fact that Doug Smith was killing 69% of the cats. I'm sure when you hired him, he looked good on paper, a good candidate for the position. But now that you have actual information regarding his performance, I don't see how you can still believe he is right for this job. I'm guessing you take all the information and experiences you have heard over the past meetings with a grain of salt, but put them all together with the data you've seen and take this more seriously. We are intelligent, caring people that have discovered a terrible injustice in our animal shelter. And this is for you, Dr. Lombardo. In response to your statement last meeting when you said you saw people in prison redeem themselves, I completely agree with you. I too have seen people redeem themselves from bad behavior or illegal behavior. But first they were called out and held accountable for their actions, removed from the situation, and given consequences for that action, like fines or jail or prison. With time and reflection and atonement, they became better people. And I believe when Doug Smith is removed from his position and held accountable for his actions and receives consequences for those actions, he can definitely be redeemed if he chooses to. But if you allow him to just stay in this job without any consequences for his actions, why would he decide to do anything differently, unless we are watching and constantly monitoring him? I'd like to know if he even believes he's done anything wrong. If he believes he's done nothing wrong, why would he do anything differently? Please look at his record and remove him. Just think about this. 69% of cats and kittens killed inhumanely, not for space, not for dysfunction, not for aggression, and not for disease. 69%. Thank you.
Thank you.
James Porter, and then we'll have Susan Walls.
Thank you. James Porter, Yucca Valley resident. So what I'm going to talk about actually flows real nicely out of that.
But I want to start by saying a big thank you to Leslie. Leslie, you know, I emailed you. You do fantastic work, and I know you've been overwhelmed with all these PRAs, and I know it sucks. But you have been doing a wonderful job. I counted them. There's like almost 40 of them, it seems like, nearly. That's a lot. You're doing a great job, and know that some of us, we really appreciate that. You've been a highlight to dealing with this. Okay, so the question, you know, I really haven't called out Doug Smith. I mean, I do have concerns about him, and I have concerns about his management, and I have been PRAing the town and asking for a lot of information, and I want to show you something that's kind of interesting and should, I hope, light a little fire under our council here. So in 2024, as we know, these were our numbers, right? We've heard these a lot. 54% of dogs euthanized, 69% of cats euthanized, which is a lot. It's terrible. Oh, thanks. So on February 19th, there started being all this public pressure. We started coming to every council meeting. So I started PRAing all the data from February 19th on every 2 weeks after the public stepped up and started saying, the shelter's failing, our town council's failing, our town staff's failing, we need to do better. Nothing else has changed except the public got involved. There's still no volunteer program. There's still no foster program. The employee situation there is still tough. The hours haven't changed. Nothing has changed except public pressure. In that time, the dog euthanization rate went down from 54% to 16.8%. The cat euthanization rate went down from 69% to 10.5%. Okay, that's great, but is it because the public is paying attention now? Because nothing else has changed. So if nothing else has changed, if the situation hasn't got better, but the numbers have gotten that much better, and if it's because the public is putting pressure on the town to do something, then the managers who are running that operation have failed you, and they have failed us, and that has to be addressed. It has to be. Today, the Riverside County Board of Supervisors passed a resolution to establish no-kill standards for all Riverside County shelters. I stand here today to challenge you, the town council, to do the same. You have the opportunity to make that resolution. You cannot control what happens with the town, of course. You are a voice of reason and advocacy, and you can make any resolution you want as a town council and encourage the town to work towards that goal. Riverside County is not setting a date when they want that. They are just passing a resolution to say, we are going to strive for no-kill status. If we can keep this 10% euthanization rate in cats, that meets the criteria for no-kill status. So I'm going to email each council member and Shane a series of things after this, including some concerning information on the animals that were euthanized in the last 11 weeks, why they were euthanized, and what a review of their actual records, which I got through PRA, showed me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan Walls, and then Allie Irwin.
Hi, Susan from Joshua Tree. I'm here to talk about the shelter also. I know it's not on the agenda, even though the community requested that we had the animal shelter ongoing for the agendas each day, just for, each time you get having the town council meetings, just for an update. But of course, that didn't happen. And I appreciate what's been done with the animal shelter, although I didn't see any pet of the week this week. I didn't see any of those that you really went overboard and did a great job a couple weeks ago, but I don't see that now. But there's so much more to be done for this. Like everyone's saying, please don't drag it out for another 6 to 8 months. We need to get things done ASAP. Don't put it off and look the other way and have Yucca Valley with this deathly number of dogs and cats to be hidden away so that people won't see. If you don't do something about it, people will just get sick and tired of being up here and having to constantly throw this in your face. We don't want to do that. We want to have it so that we can get together and network with other shelters. We want to have it. What happens with that committee? Are we going to have to wait for a long time on that committee where we're going to have a couple town council members, and then the public put some input, some brainstorming to see what can be done. Also, I know what, I think what Susan Herring was talking about as far as the accounting of the dogs, who's coming in, who's going out, where they're going. I know a lot of the shelters have whiteboards, and they'll say, oh, so-and-so was adopted, and they'll put down the dog's names. I mean, that's nice. It lets us know that if we don't see the dog and they weren't adopted, then we know what happened to them, that they were killed. And also, I noticed the update for the April records hasn't been put on the online. It just shows January to March. There's no monthly update for April. Here we are, almost the end of May. So I was hoping that would get put up at least before the June meeting. And I also would like to say that the kittens and the cats are in cages in that little room, and people are not allowed to touch them. How are you going to adopt a cat out if you can't take a cat and touch it and pet it? That needs to have something done, because that's just crazy. Yeah, I know with the dogs, you can take them out and have them run around the yards. That helps, because that really lets you know whether they're the type of dog that you want. But with the cats, there's nothing like that that's available. So, all right, anyways, volunteers, I'd like to have that go on.
Thank you, Susan.
Allie Irwin, and then Tora Edwards.
So I feel like we all left the May 6th meeting pretty happy, feeling like perhaps we were on the same team. And that felt really good. And then I feel like in the last 2 weeks, there's been just a lack of communication, hearing nothing. Text didn't get returned, and nothing on Facebook. So questions for you that if you could answer or work out or take action on. Have you scheduled the spay-neuter event, which was set to be scheduled for this month before June? Have you taken any steps on fast-tracking the volunteer program that you mentioned you wanted to do? There is no monthly report or outcome statistics for the month of April still, so there's not even updated information online for us to look at. I'd like to know who's conducting the peer review of the draft report that'll be presented to you at the next meeting. You looked, some of you, excited about the idea that Riverside County is aiming to go for no-kill. Best Friends Society, who you've visited, is having a free 2-day summit online to bring, it's called Bring No Kill Home. This is one that some of the folks here went to Pomona in person. This one's online. It's June 12th and 13th. I sent a message providing that information. So it's like we're not feeling really great out here again, right? Like we thought we had something, and I just don't think that the faith is there and the trust is there yet. I'd like it to be. And not being on the agenda so that we could have a back and forth. We take the time to be here in person, but we can't actually talk or get information back, rather. So, yeah, I can yield time.
Thank you.
Tora Edwards.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm Tora Edwards. I brought this puppy 2 weeks ago that was dumped in the desert with its 2 siblings and mom. And again, so yes, this puppy is thriving, and I had said that I thanked whoever dumped them because at least they put them near a road that maybe they would be seen. It was a dirt road. You couldn't see them from the road, but luckily the mama dog was kind of running around. So I thank them for that, right? So I wanted to bring that sentiment to what we do here, and that, yeah, you guys are thinking about not closing the outdoor drop kennels. And every step that we do towards kindness builds on each other. And like this dog is thriving because they did put it near a road. that maybe they could be seen. And it will go on to a good life. And a lot of people are moving here because it's kinder here, right? It's more soothing. They find something that helps their lives. That's why they come out to the desert. They're leaving the city, a lot of people, right? So that we want to do that in this community. We want to make it so that it does feel better, right? We are a kinder community, and that's what we do here, and that's why we are here. And so every step, just the kind steps, I just really, really appreciate all those. And we were excited so after last meeting, and thank you for that. It felt really good. And so just thinking on those terms of bringing this, all of this kindness, my motto for my rescue is dogs and cats and all animals, and dogs bring people together. And so that's a really good thing. So let's just build on that and keep those steps going. And I really appreciate all you're doing and thinking and all the energy put into this. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have any more cards.
Is there, well, let's see if there's anyone online, then I'll get back to the public.
Yes, we have two speakers for online here. First is Greg Genron. I've requested you to unmute. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, everyone. My name is Greg Gendron. I've been a Yucca Valley resident since 2017. I'm very active on social media trying to help our animals in need here in the high desert. I'm a member of many Facebook groups networking lost and found pets, as well as networking pets that need adopting, fostering, or rehoming. I'm also very involved and determined to be a part of making our animal shelter improve. That means helping animals and providing them with a safe place if needed, not euthanizing for convenience because of a lack of management skills and effort from shelter manager Doug Smith and with deputy town manager Shane Stuckel overseeing and approving of, as has now been shown to be the case for years. First, I would like to acknowledge the positive changes from the town that I've seen with adoptions and online activity. This is so welcome, exciting, and appreciated. However, I still want to address the problem since the community is still having to try to prove to the town council that we need to replace the management of our Yucca Valley Animal Shelter. I want to see the continued positive efforts that have come to be in the last few months with more adoptions and lower euthanizations, but I fear they cannot sustain with the same failing management we've had for years. The same management that is still not taking accountability, just making and giving excuses. For transparency reasons, I have filed a number of public records requests for information about the animal shelter operations. I want to confirm that the action items we're being told about by the town council are in fact being implemented. The public records requests by law are to be addressed within 10 calendar days, either by providing the records or a reason they cannot be. If the reason is needing more time, they are to give you an estimated date they intend to complete the request. My last request was one I hope to have to be able to discuss tonight, but I can't. This request was not responded to within the 10-day legal time limit. I had to send an email to complain and inquire as to why, and I just received a response yesterday. The response for each of these records I requested was, waiting for info from shelter staff, with no specific timeline given for completing. The request I made was for multiple items. It was the same PRA request that Manager Yakima read at the last meeting as an example. It was for records that would show that Doug Smith had increased rescue group partners since the last short list I saw in March. It was for records that would show emails are actually being sent out to those groups regularly to help with fosters, adoptions, and pulls. It was for records that would show specific adoption numbers and stats since the beginning of the year, which would include breeds and fees charged per adoption. It was for records that would show what the total capacity is for housing animals. And finally, it was for records that would show all animal shelter employees and their salaries. The only record provided to me out of all of those was an Excel document with the animal shelter employee and their salaries. Great, except for it was an empty blank document. There was no information on it. Again, this request was not responded to within the 10-day legal time limit, and I was given no specific timeline for completion. This is not acceptable. This is not showing the transparency that the town council is telling us that they're now providing the community.
I'm sorry, your time is up.
Good job, Najee at the Sheriff Department. Kick ass. Thank you.
Okay, we have
Right.
up next is Jennifer Hobut. Have been requested to unmute. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Jennifer Hurlbut. I'm the Executive Director of Yucca Animal Placement Society, Yucca, California. Our rescue has been in existence for 67 years, and we work with the city of Yucca for a land lease and for animal services in the area. We are a nonprofit, and I have requested from the town animal services to receive information in order to rescue animals from the shelter. I've emailed 3 times and I have not received a response yet. My 2 main issues is that number 1, I see maybe a dozen animals listed online, and I'm not sure if you only have 12 dogs in your shelter or if there are other animals, cats, and more than 12 dogs. I'd be very interested to know because we do have 2 kennel spaces open right now, and we're interested in rescuing animals. The other item that I'd like to address is becoming a partner with your shelter for rescues. Every day I receive dozens of emails from different shelters all over Southern California. We primarily rescue from Riverside and San Bernardino counties, but we get them from as far away as LA and San Diego as well. And we can rescue from anywhere in the country. I would love to be able to save animals from your euthanasia list, which is in our bylaws, in our charter, and in our mission statement, to accept owner surrenders and rescue from euthanasia list. So I'm happy to share my information. I've sent it to James Porter. He has that as well. And I'm interested in coming and touring your shelter. I'm happy to host tours at ours as well. We are no-kill status, which is anything under 10%, although we are at about, 0.5%, just for medical reasons. We also have a huge volunteer program and donor program, and I'm happy to share those resources with your staff as well. Thank you for having the town meeting today, and thank you for taking my question.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online? Okay, so let's take anybody that has not filled out a form. If you want to come up.
It's been almost a year, so hopefully you're not bored and tired of me. I want to thank Mayor, Council, and staff, and Captain. Yes, we all love Najee, and thank you for you and all your deputies' work. I agree with everything that was said tonight, and that was why I waited. I wasn't sure if I was going to say anything else. Pet Finder now has 2 cats. There haven't been any cats listed for almost a month, and 3 chickens. Egg laying, come on, people. Adopt them, adopt the cats, adopt Draco, please. He's a wonderful sweetheart. There are many wonderful animals at that shelter that we need to help. I've talked to people about the front end and what we need to do with more clinics and obviously rescues and fosters. I haven't seen the red listed in the preliminary report or posting the found dogs, which are very important because we have active community members. I'm retired. Susan Herring drove down here after just trapping a dog this afternoon. She's busy. I have Tuesdays free. I'm going to be here. I'll be here forever, including soda or coffee with whoever is the mayor at the time. But I do appreciate everything that has been done, but the rubber has to meet the road. And if I haven't spoken out publicly about somebody, doesn't mean I don't have feelings. My grandson and I went to the shelter and dropped off blankets and towels a few weeks ago. I got to meet Brooke, a breath of fresh air. Let me tell you, she's the one who came up to thank us. She's the one who we talked about, and I thanked her for what she's been doing, because without her, I know she's been the driving force behind getting things posted. There are things on Home Alone, but they have decreased, as far as the more pictures. They're a little bit late, but we can't complain about everything. As long as you guys are moving forward and things are getting done, I will be somewhat patient, but I'm not going away. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, we have one more person.
Is this on? Do I hit it? Okay,
It's fine, we hear you.
Hi, I'm Christy Carter, and I went to walk the dogs at the shelter on Sunday, at the no-kill shelter. And I talked to them, and I asked them, I said, so when you have volunteers that come in the runs or clean the runs or do things around the shelter, do they fill up the same waiver form? And she said, well, actually, the volunteers that come inside the shelter don't do the run stuff. The people that work here do that. But what they do is they'll do the laundry or the dishes or, all the things, those little tasks that add up, that take away from the people that work there. So it's not like they're in the runs and dealing with the animals. They're actually just doing other little tasks around the place. And I thought that was really helpful information I want to share with you because it's sounds pretty doable, It really does. I can't really think of anything else, but thank you. And thank you to all you guys for doing what you're doing. And let's all together work together. Like Tora said, we all got to put our hearts there because they are animals. And oh my God, I can't even imagine my life without my dog. You know how it is when you lose a pet. They give us everything. They're our hearts, they're everything. So the least we can do is step up for them. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public? Seeing none, let's close public comments. Now let's go to staff reports and comments.
I was going to ask Sue to just quickly highlight Grub Stakes Days presented by the Chamber and some of the places where people can get information for those activities.
Super. Just wanted to highlight a few things that are coming up, including Grub Stake Days. We have, the Chamber, of course, is hosting a myriad of events. On their website, they're going to start at Brem Park with a full day of activities. Go to their website to see all of the details on that. Of course, the town will be hosting the 34th annual Grub Stakes Run on May 25th. So we're still taking registration for that run as well. And our Mayor Pro Tem Merle Abel will be there to host that event as well. In the upcoming weeks, I won't go through all of the programs. Of course, encourage residents to take a look at our spring-summer guide for all of our summer activities. We did share at the Soda with the Mayor this morning as well. But this Friday is our last Friday night movies in the courtyard. So if you want to watch the B movie, that starts at 7 p.m. Aquatics is getting underway with swim testing on May 31st and June 7th. Registration for aquatics, which is very popular, opens on June 2nd. The pool will be open 6 days a week from June 16th to August 9th. We also have the museum opening a new kids interactive summer exhibit called Leonardo's Lab that opens this Saturday, and they will hold an accompanying Family Fun Day Renaissance Festival on June 14th. Also, at your next meeting, you'll receive the end-of-term report for the Youth Commission as well. So some of the things that are coming up just in the next week or two, and a full slate of summer programs coming up as well. Thank you.
Mayor and Council, just a couple items coming up on your Planning Commission agenda on June 10th. Commission will be holding its first public hearing at the Council's direction on the Senior Housing Preservation Program, i.e. the mobile home parks. So the Planning Commission will be looking at the map and the overlay district for that Senior Housing Preservation Program. Second public hearing that night is a state-mandated action that the council will have to act on before July 24th, and that is the adoption of the new state fire hazard zone maps. Planning Commission will be acting on that and likely making a recommendation to the town council at their meeting of June 10th. So those two items, one of which is council direction, occurring at the Planning Commission on June 10th.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to mayor and council member reports and comments. Let's start with council member Dennison.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to first, just as always, thank you everyone for taking the time to provide public comment to us. Sometimes I think some may think those comments aren't used, but they are. I can truly say that. So your time is valuable, I know that, and I appreciate you spending it with us, giving your thoughts of what's going on. Also, the comment on our senior center of Nina and Rose, you're right. Nina, both of them do a wonderful job. But our seniors have done a great job too. We had to move recently from the current or the existing senior center over here to the old library, and I know a lot of work was put in to make that happen. So thank you for your patience during that, and I think when you get back to the senior center, you're really going to be surprised. There's a lot of great work going on there, and I'm very excited. Days are going to get hotter, so it might be a good time to be indoors and maybe play a few board games and socialize and have some fun and some more dances and movies and all the other things that are put on over there. There was a comment made by Sue from talking about Parks and Recreation. I say this every year around this time. Swimming is one of the most important things that a young child can learn to do. It's never too early to learn how to swim. There's opportunities for that during the summertime, formal swimming training. But also, if you know someone that's a youth in high school, getting to the age where they can participate. I see Ryan over there. Some of these others have been lifeguards before and worked at the pool. Those are opportunities where the older youth can get involved in our swim programs and help the young people learn also and provide a great summer activity for young and old. Other than that, I don't have anything else to say. Just thank you again for all the work that the town has done to make our community a better place.
Thank you. Councilmember Lamardo.
Yes, I also want to thank everyone for coming in comments. Some of them are sometimes hard to hear. It's good to be called out on things that need recognition. We do want to see some changes. I hope that you can be patient enough to allow us to understand the problem before we try to change things. Let's see. I want to acknowledge our public workers and professionals. It was your Public Works Week, and I want to say that we are very pleased that you got recognition that you deserve. Also, Grub Stakes is coming up. It's something that's been going on in our community for a very long time. It's kind of waxed and waned a little bit as people involved in it had time to pour effort into it and stuff. I think they're trying to revive it. And I encourage you to participate in the things going on. There'll be lots of music, lots of activities, the run. I think there's a lot of things happening at Brem Park and a beer garden and dancing and music. And I'm always in favor of having live music in our community. I think it's a great opportunity. Go out and have some fun. There'll be food vendors, I believe, also there. Is that right, Sue?
Yes, so lineup of the activities, the golf challenge, a wagon parade, a community fair with vendors and food vendors, beard contest, horseshoe tournament, our fun run, bunch of other stuff.
It's always been a kind of a fun time to gather together as a community and kind of pay a little tribute to the founding of Yucca Valley and the area around us with the theme of old timers and mining and that sort of stuff. And they have a lot of fun little contests. I remember back in my day, I think I won the hairy legs contest or something as a young guy. I think it was 35 or something, just had moved up here. It's always been a dear spot in my heart. We had a lot of fun times with the tug of war and and a crazy car. We had like a destruction derby and a rodeo and all sorts of stuff. But please partake, get involved, do some things so that we can build back that spirit. It really is good for the community. Thank you, and looking forward to June. So we'll find out more about our animal shelter then. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Schooler.
Well, I think it's already been said, so I agree with the comments, all the comments that have been made so far, except maybe the hairy legs thing. But if you won, you won. Okay.
I was second.
But yeah, it's hard to believe Grub Steaks is here already. It's looking forward to a good weekend coming up. Again, kudos to the Public Works team. And Frank, thank you for bringing up Nina and Rose and their work. They're both very committed and longtime dedicated employees. And lastly, we did have an opportunity to tour the Aquatics and Recreation Center today. And the progress is amazing. Having a full-on town gymnasium is going to be a first. Having an indoor aquatics swimming pool with all kinds of features that are going to serve the community year-round. It's just awesome. Can't wait for that to get done. Great job on managing that project, and great to see the progress. So that's it for me.
All right, thank you. And I just want to say Memorial Day weekend, Grub Steaks, all that is this weekend. But on Monday, on actual Memorial Day, there's going to be a program at Joshua Tree Memorial Park at the cemetery at 11 a.m. And I'll have a few words to say there. So I'll be there, and hopefully I'll see many of you there. As far as the animal shelter, I did happen to go by the Apple Valley Animal Shelter. So if anybody wants to call me or email me, I'm not going to talk about it now, but it was a great visit. But it's a beautiful shelter, as sad as it is. But obviously they've put a lot of money into it. They have a lot more money than us. But I talked to the manager there. And I do want to say I'm anxious for our final report in 2 weeks. But we have made changes. We probably need more staff to make more changes, and we'll see how that happens or when that happens. But, you know, of course, we're trying to increase partners. Pet Finder is a huge change. There's a lot of animals on Pet Finder. Social media, sedation with euthanasia is a big change. So we have made changes, but 2 more weeks and we'll have more answers, and then we can move on from there. And I do want to say we did have a Pet of the Week last Saturday. Its name was Sprig. I remember that. So anyway, and that's it. I hope everybody has a great 2 weeks, and thank you for being here. Your input is really, really important to us. We take it to heart. And thank you for all the people that are transplanted from their usual job and helping out at the animal shelter. I think that really helps a lot. Like everybody's mentioning Brooke. Brooke did the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. She's a big help, but there are others also. So that's good, but we need regular employees in there, not somebody moved from somewhere else temporarily. So we'll see how that goes. So thank you, everyone, and the next meeting of the Yucca Valley Towns Council will be Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025 at 5 p.m. right here. Meeting adjourned.